It's that time again. Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. Woo, woo, woo.
I realized I did not pick a content for.
You just ruined my perfectly exciting intro.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if you are new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a show in which we engage with content that we assign each other for a whole week, and then we reconvene and talk about it on this podcast with facts, thoughts, opinions, which are also thoughts. And that's...
and other thoughts.
And more thoughts. Maybe a little bit of feelings, too, because we're very emotionally sensitive here at the Content Swap Podcast. So before we dive in, we like to give a little news life update, things that we've been watching, anything notably new with us that's going on. So before we dive in, let's go ahead and have you take it away. What is going on in your life? What is new? What is exciting? Tell the people what you got going on, as Sean Evans from Hot Ones would say.
Oh, yeah. Love Sean Evans. We didn't mention this last week, but we've been watching Nathan For You, and I'm saying that because it's literally on our TV right now. And it's been a blast.
Yes. And if you're not familiar with Nathan For You,
yes.
How would you describe the show?
It's like a dry humor. It's like its humor comes from the awkwardness of Nathan Fielder trying to connect with people, and like he's basically giving them business advice, and it's like horrible business advice.
Right. It's like marketing ideas that nobody would ever tackle because they're so impractical.
It's so absurd and so problematic in some of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like he just has this like dry, awkward humor, and it makes it so funny because everyone reacting to him is like, what?
Right, so everybody thinks that he's an actual expert.
Yeah.
So when he comes to them with some ridiculous marketing idea, he is like full blown serious. But
He's
it's
very
like,
confident. Yeah,
he's very
like,
confident.
This is the best idea.
Like this is like having what would be an example? Or like you're a realtor who's struggling to sell houses, so guaranteeing to people that you are the only 100% ghost-free realtor. All the houses you sell have no ghosts.
Yeah,
is going to boost your business.
Yeah,
and she's like, okay.
Yeah, there was like a woman who was trying to get more. Like she owned a clothing store. She was trying to get more people to buy clothes, and he was like, "You should let pretty people shoplift."
Right, and
then their friends will see it, and that'll drive more business because now their friends will go buy the clothes that woman shoplifted.
So they hire which like it just leads to these insane scenarios. It's like it starts with this idea, but then it turns into like, oh well, then we have to hire a security guard to let people know that they're allowed to shoplift.
Yeah, they like invest way more than they should have.
Right.
in carrying and executing out this business.
Right.
Idea.
And it comes down to like, who does the security guard find attractive?
Yeah.
So people like attractive women will go by and he'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, you need to pay for that. So then they have to like fully divest time into like, what does this guy find attractive? And it's like they just take it all the way to the extreme.
Yeah. And a lot of times things end up being self-serving for Nathan, or like he lets his own feelings about a situation that happened when he was trying to execute this thing carry him away, and now he's like taking a guy on a boat to punish him for like lying or something.
Oh, yeah. It was like
they were letting people cut in line if they had a doctor's appointment, or if they met
if they had one
criteria.
of one of the 5 listed reasons of like why somebody would justifiably be in a hurry,
right?
They got to cut in line at this like
food,
burger joint.
Yeah.
And this guy lied.
He was like, I have a doctor's appointment, and then he went to the movies.
They
followed him. Yeah.
They followed him, found out he went to the movies, and then they called him and said, hey, actually you were like the 10 millionth customer to that restaurant, and we want to give you a special promotion. They brought him onto a boat and
had
then
a fake dinner.
They had a fake dinner to celebrate him, and then just to reveal, like, oh, those people that you cut in line, like, they're here, and they have something to say to you, and those people are like, why would you lie to us? It's like, crazy. What is going on?
Okay, apparently that scene where he you know when someone has like food covered with like that like silver thing, yeah, food and they like open it up, and there's this in that scene he goes, "Are you hungry for nothing?" And apparently that's like a popular audio bit that gets used in like a lot of like memes
like
and TikToks and things
stuff
like that. Yeah,
oh, that's funny.
And I was like, I did not know that.
Oh yeah, the show's wild. Definitely 100% check it out if you haven't seen it. It's like the funniest thing we've ever seen.
It's hilarious. I'm gonna be very sad once we finish it.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Yeah. Oh, tears. But aside from that, I watched and completed a new anime show. For some reason, I was hanging out with a friend last week, and we were talking about anime, and because I didn't know she watched anime, and I was like, oh, I like this show, and she is really into sport animes, and I was like, oh, I've been like dipping my toes into those, and that just kind of like reinvigorated my interest in wanting to watch anime. But I had not watched like romance centered anime before, and I was like, let me see what's up in this area of anime. And I got recommended online a show called Given. It was like number 7 on the list of like best anime, romance anime as of 2024. And I started watching it, and I became like obsessed, and I finished it very quickly. Finished it today. It's all I've been thinking about.
So what's it about?
Yeah.
I mean, who are the characters? What's the romance?
Oh goodness, I don't know their names, but basically
you finished it and you don't even know their names.
I like any for some reason. And when I watch shows, I can never keep up with anyone's names. Like Game of Thrones, I couldn't tell you what any of their names are except for Khaleesi. And
well, that's fair.
Snow.
I mean, that's Snow. His name's just Snow. I mean, I could tell you all of their names, but I think a lot of people go through that whole show not knowing anybody's name.
Yeah, I just like have a really hard time with names. I don't know what it is. But anyways, it's basically about these like 2 high school boys who join a band with these like 2 college boys. And it's basically like the 2 high school boys end up falling in love, and then the 2 college boys fall in love, and it's like just so cute. But it's also like it's got some really sad parts to it. Like one of the high school boys is dealing with this trauma of his ex-boyfriend who, trigger warning, committed suicide or like died. I think he committed suicide.
What, I don't remember. You think you would know if you're going to do a whole trigger warning.
I think he committed suicide because one of this like a side girl character was talking to the guy who he ends up falling in love with.
Okay, it sounds like it didn't make it explicitly clear.
No, I think he
died.
Yes, he died.
And it was tragic.
And it was tragic, yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a suicide.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway. So yeah, so like there's like these like really sad parts about like grief and like overcoming grief, and like that kind of trickles into his relationship now with the guy, because he's afraid if he makes his now boyfriend mad, then like something bad's gonna happen and things like that. So yeah, so it's just like a really, really good show, and it's like kind of spicy too. Like there's this one character that I love, one of the college guys, and
he's got a deep voice.
He's a good character.
I caught glimpses of it, and I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, he's got some great energy. I mean, he's kind of a mess of a person, but got some good energy. So yeah, I watched that. Absolutely recommend it. 10 out of 10. And then the last thing I'll say is that I started listening to the audiobook for Iron Flame, which is the second book for Fourth Wing, which I talked about last week.
That's right.
So far, it's okay. Nothing's... I think, like... Because, like, the appeal of the first one is the romance between the main girl and the guy. He's been, like, gone. Like, he's not even around. So I'm like, oh, is this why people don't really like this book? Like...
Are they still riding dragons?
Yeah, they're still riding dragons.
But it's
now
lacking
it's like
the romance.
Yeah,
component.
like now it's like there's a new cohort of
Dragon riders.
Potential dragon riders, because they have to make it through all the trials or whatever to get to the to like be a student. But so like that's all that's been happening.
The way the description of that just kind of like opened up like an envelope for people who didn't listen last week. They're like, okay, so I don't know what this book's about, but it's a sequel. There's a romance. And what, Dragon Riders? Yeah, Dragon Riders.
Yes, it's about kids, not kids. They're like college students who ride dragons.
And there's a pretty good romance here, but not in the second one.
Yeah, it's a very like intense book. Like people are dying left and right from going through they basically have to like go through trials to become dragon riders
and
officially.
They die from the trials?
Oh my gosh, yeah, dragons will kill them. Like
what?
Yeah.
Oh,
they'll.
That sounds kind of
other
interesting.
people will kill them. Like
I just kept. Interesting. Okay. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's very Hunger Games-esque, but with dragons.
I just had such a like DreamWorks version of this in my head, like How to Train Your Dragon, but with like some spicy scenes.
No, it's
like,
not cutesy at all. It's like people are dying. Kids are dying left and right.
Well, if they adapt that, I'll check it out.
It's very sad.
I don't know if I'll read it.
If they're dying, I'll check it out.
No, if they adapt to that, I'll check it out. Yeah.
I was like, what? So that's really all that I've been engaging with. What about you?
Yeah, on my end, well, so there's a few things. One, I started playing Like a Dragon again, and I'm enjoying that. And we're gonna be gone next month for like 3 weeks.
Where are we going?
We are going to be watching my mom's dogs for a few weeks. And I won't have access to my PlayStation during that time, so I'm like trying to play my PlayStation games before that happens. Yeah. And I'm trying to save all of like my Switch games for. I could do the whole. I could use my Backbone, which I attach to my phone, and then I could stream my PlayStation games to my phone. But we just have to pray that the power never goes out.
Which happens quite often.
Yeah. So it's a crapshoot. It could work. It could not. I don't know. I've never used it outside of our house.
Gotcha.
So I've heard mixed things about how that works. But
I see.
Yeah. So I'm trying to play some PlayStation games before I get back to my Switch games. Although, I've had this idea for a game that's, very reminiscent of like late 90s, early 2000s games. And I'm finding myself with a deep desire to play an older game from the Dreamcast called Shenmue, which has 3...
You talked about that last week.
I did?
Yeah.
Shenmue?
Yeah.
Oh, but I haven't... Oh, okay. Well, I've never played it, and I still want to play it. There's like they released the first 2 on Dreamcast, and Shenmue 2 was considered like this legendary game, and then they just never made a Shenmue 3 until like 2017. It was like a Kickstarter backed thing, and it was like heavily criticized because it felt like if Shenmue 3 had been released at like a natural time of I'm not sure when Shenmue 2 came out, like let's say it was 1999. It felt like Shenmue 3, when it finally came out in 2017, was made in 2001. So which is an interesting artistic debate, because it's like, okay, well, this doesn't have the quality of life features of a game that would be made in like 2017, 2018, but it does feel like the direct sequel of this like older game that hasn't really like grown into the modern era or aged as well. So it's like releasing a game that's inherently not aged well, even though it's just getting released. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I'd be really curious to check it out, because it still seems like there's like a natural progression of like 1 to 2 to 3. Mm-hmm. So, and they're like apparently iconic and really changed modern gaming for the better. Like they were very influential at the time. So I want to check those out, because there's a certain vibe to that I know about, that I am interested in trying to pick apart. So, yeah, I want to do that, but again, I got to play it on my PlayStation, so there's that.
I mean, we still have a whole month before that.
I know,
Do
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, a whole month, just 1 month. But it's like I got Like a Dragon, and Like a Dragon is like a very long game. Which Like a Dragon is from the it's the Yakuza series, but now they're rebranding it as Like a Dragon. That is kind of like a spiritual successor to Shenmue, which is what makes me like extra interested in going back and checking that game out. Anyway, but I downloaded this emulator on my phone called Delta that's like a spiritual successor to GBA for iOS, which I used to play a ton of Pokemon games on my phone like 10 years ago. And then the Apple Store removed it, and now like Delta, which is made by the same guy and like Apple approved, you can download it on your phone and you can emulate a bunch of different games. And so, I'll probably end up playing Pokemon on my phone at some point, maybe even this year. But you can play N64 games on it. And there's a ton of old N64 games that you can play on the Switch now. But one that I've been wanting them to put on the Switch is called Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, which is like kind of a janky 3D game that's set in like feudal Japan and has like a lot of really quirky Japanese humor. But I played it so much as a kid because we would rent it from Blockbuster all the time, and we never got very far because we couldn't figure it out. But it always like stuck with me, and I always wondered like, what was that game? What was the rest of it after the initial parts that we never seemed to be able to get past? And so I started playing it, and I'm like, hey, this game's kind of fun. It's like, it is janky, and I like looked up reviews, and it wasn't even reviewed that well when it came out. But because it's like this pure nostalgia thing, and it's actually like this big adventure, but when I was a kid it was kind of like we couldn't figure out anything, so it felt very small. But now I'm like an adult playing it, I'm like, well, this game's like way bigger than I thought it was. It's pretty neat, so I'm enjoying that little experience. Mm-hmm. So that's all on the game side of things. But I will say that we watched a couple of movies this past weekend. One, we went and saw Challengers. We did.
Yeah.
We saw Challengers in a theater. What did you think of that?
I loved it.
I also
crazy.
Loved it. I feel like I loved it more than you did.
It took me a second just because I was like trying to wrap my brain around some of the more like I guess like cinematography elements. Cinematographic, yeah.
Dang it.
I don't know.
Cinematographic. Whatever. Anyway, you get the point.
I was trying to decide if I liked the way they did some of those scenes.
Like there's like a ball POV shot.
I didn't mind that. I don't know. And some of the editing, I wasn't quite sure if I liked it. But overall, then once I like sat with it and was like, okay, let me just like zoom out for a second. And did I enjoy the movie? I was like, it was such an entertaining movie.
Loved it. I thought it was like the energy, the music, I liked the editing. I liked the weird shots.
Yeah.
I mean, tennis, you can only do so much shot wise with tennis. Mm-hmm. And they found ways to, do something that had never been done before. Like a ball POV, a first-person player POV. There was a part where it looked like the camera was like underneath the court.
Yeah.
To make it so like the way they got the shot was probably that they just had a glass court and they had the players playing on it. But it the shots were kind of like under the ground.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the tennis parts were fantastic. It wasn't those scenes that really threw me off. It was like, I felt like there were a lot of like slow-mos, close-ups to faces in times where I didn't feel like it warranted it.
So I don't know if I could say I wrote a review. I just kind of wrote like a one sentence of my thoughts because that's all I have the capacity for at right now. But I read a review today where this guy pointed out that the characters, there was a lot of like subtle kind of facial expressions to convey different like emotional feelings or like underlying thoughts that the characters had that they like the reviewer really appreciated. And I feel like maybe that artistic intention is what would explain those like weird close-ups.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm not to say that the movie shouldn't have had any of them, because I think especially when you're looking at the communicate, because there's a lot of like nonverbal communication between the two male characters.
Yeah,
and that's where it's like,
which is like the most interesting dynamic,
right?
In the
exactly.
movie.
But I felt like there were like close-ups of like Zendaya's face in particular, and I'm like, this is not to me. This isn't adding to how I'm interpreting what's happening. Like, it's just a close-up of Zendaya.
I mean, I thought they got some pretty good shots of Zendaya doing like some crazy eyes. I don't know. She like her eyes were like wide open and like slightly twitching at one point. I was like, whoa. Right. I've never seen this side of her before.
But I didn't need all of those scenes to be slow-mo zoom-ins. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know what you mean about the slow-mo zoom-in thing. I don't feel like I caught that at all.
Okay, maybe I need to rewatch the movie, because I feel like I remember these like, it was like the camera coming inwards to someone's face, and it was like slow-mo, and it would like repeat that. Like, I feel like that's like the one thing I left the theater and was like, why did they do that?
I have no idea how to visualize what you just described. What do you mean repeat that?
Like it's like
they would
cut to another character and then do it again back to the same character.
I see.
Yeah, and I'm like, why do we keep doing the zoom in? Like, that was what was throwing me off.
Well, yeah, we'll have to go back and we'll have to sit down and
rewatch it.
We'll do a whole Parker Aaliyah content swap commentary, and
yeah,
we'll put it out there, and then you can watch along with us.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe I need to rewatch it, because I also just have the worst memory, so maybe I just don't remember correctly. But I remember leaving, like, when we left the theater, that was the first thing I said, was like, why'd they, like, I was like, I feel like the way they did those zoom ins were weird sometimes.
Yeah, it's just not something I was able to focus on.
Yeah. I mean, despite that, like I said, fantastic movie.
Yes, very good. Highly recommend. Go check it out. Yeah. Not for children, so...
Yeah. We were telling like a local person in our neighborhood that we went to see the movie, and she was like, "Oh, fun!" And then we were like, "Yeah, it's mature though."
It's rated R.
She was like, "Oh, I won't bring my son then." We're like, "No." Her son was like 5.
Yeah. We also watched Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh yeah.
Which, what did you think of that?
I don't remember it.
It was very late at night on like Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird. It's very weird.
It's a very weird movie.
Yeah.
That's about it. I need to finish watching Shogun, and I need to start watching Fallout. We need to watch Invincible Season 2, and I want to watch X-Men 97. So there's like a lot of TV I feel very behind on right now. Mm-hmm. But hey, maybe when I don't have access to that PS5, that'll be a good time for that.
Yeah.
Aside from that, The Stuntman is coming out this weekend. I don't know if we'll see that this weekend or not, but that's something that's happening. And then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes the week after that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel more excited to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes than The Stuntman, even though The Stuntman is probably a better movie.
Yeah.
Just because we're so invested in Planet of the Apes, because we watched like all 3 movies in one day.
But low-key, I kind of need a recap.
I don't think we need
think
we need to recap, because I think this movie takes place like 100 years later or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We have questions that need to be answered.
What do you mean we have questions
about the humans?
We can't say that on the podcast.
But we have questions.
All I will say is that why do apes in these movies capture humans, and what does that relationship look like in that world?
We will find out when we watch it.
What for? Anyway, I've already said too much, so let's move on to the content.
I do not want to talk about this piece of content that you have assigned me. Like, I actually am dreading it.
It's not as bad
My
as you
summary
say it
is one sentence.
Well, you could put a little bit more respect on it, but okay.
I don't think it deserves it.
All right. We will
it.
get into why you don't think it deserves it, but I don't think you should be afraid to summarize what actually took place in it.
Like nothing took place. Okay.
It's 30 minutes long.
I was assigned Kung Fury. When did this come out?
2015.
2015. You can find it on YouTube. It's 30 minutes long. It's basically about a Miami cop who knows martial arts and goes back in time to assassinate Hitler.
Perfect. So why are you, what is your biggest gripe with this?
The whole thing that exists. I hated it. I hated it so much.
Why?
It was like, it wasn't even like it wasn't a fun watch. I was like, I absolutely just want to turn this off.
Why?
Because it was just like so absurd, but like not in a fun way. It was like absurd in like a, this makes me feel icky kind of way.
Okay.
And I hated it. The parts that are supposed to, well, I mean, I guess the whole thing's kind of supposed to spark humor. None of it was funny to me. And I was like, I hate this.
So the whole thing is made as like a complete homage to the 80s, like in the most exaggerated version of all of the tropes that existed in the 80s, including the Hitler references, because that was a thing in video games in the 80s. Like I have here in the trivia that Bionic Commando was a game where they theorized about a rebirth of the Third Reich with the resurrected Hitler. So like there were games, and like Wolfenstein is like a whole franchise that exists that's like that started in the 80s where you like killed Hitler. So like that part being something that you feel weird about, I will say, like, did exist in the 80s. So it's, I mean, it's not,
I mean, that wasn't the worst part to me. It was this main guy that just felt
Kung Fury.
Yeah, he just felt so icky. Icky to me. I don't know what it was. It was like it was just the whole package. The aesthetic.
It's very
Hitler, where
it's very masculine driven.
Yeah, this guy, like, it's got
like 80s action hero vibes, but like with the neon lights, and the kung fu and all of that.
Yeah.
And so what is it that, was it the masculinity of it that made you uncomfortable?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's just, I mean, obviously, clearly, this is just not the media for me. Like, I was not the demographic for this at all. No, for sure. And I, like, can understand that. But just, like, I think that there are pieces of content where I'm not the demographic, but I can understand the appeal.
Okay.
This is not, I don't understand the appeal. Like, I don't understand
You don't understand the appeal.
I don't understand how someone watches this and goes, oh, like, yeah, that was funny. That was great. Like, I'm like, what was funny? Like, it wasn't fun. It was just dumb.
It's not, I mean, yeah, it's kind of made to be dumb intentionally. It's not trying to be, not trying to be smart. It's not trying to evoke any, like, real thoughts out of your head.
But it's supposed to entertain you. Like, it's supposed to entertain you. And you're supposed to find humor out of it, making fun of the 80s.
It's a premise that only would work in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, if this was a full-blown movie, then I don't think it would have worked as well. But because it was like short and kind of kept it contained to a short amount of time, like, I enjoyed all of the little, like, 80s-isms that it had going on. It was like, oh yeah, there's an arcade machine, or there's an arcade. I will say it was like weirdly violent at the beginning, which I think maybe didn't really set the tone correctly. Yeah. It's certainly not a perfect product at all.
Yeah.
But there's just like these, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to. Like, see, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, it was stupid, but it makes me laugh. And like, so like, Hitler, for example, was played by Jorma Taccone, who was one of the guys from The Lonely Island. And I feel like it's very Lonely Island humor. Like, people who thought Hot Rod was funny will think like Kung Fury
This
is
is
funny.
like so different from that though.
It's like, to me, it's the same, like, just purely stupid humor that.
But I feel like Hot Rod, like I feel like the beauty of like Hot Rod and stuff is like they're very simple. Like
You
they're
didn't
very,
like Hot Rod.
Okay, I didn't like Hot Rod, but at the same time, like that feels so much different to me than this. Like it was Hot Rod's like just like a very simple, like kind of rooted in like just like real normal people, like regular people doing dumb stuff, I guess. But then like I don't know, this was just like so much and so stimulating in like the worst possible ways. And it was just, I don't know, it was just like it like reminds me like it makes me think of like someone who like shows you, and I mean, I'm not trying to like dog you. Like I'm not trying to make this sound like, but you know, like you ever like been, you know, when you're in a situation where someone's like, oh, look at this funny thing, and they play it for you and you're like,
what's funny?
Yeah, you're like, what? Like,
yeah, no.
That's what that felt like. That's what this experience of watching it felt like.
I picked up within like 2 minutes that you were not going to enjoy this, and I said, that's fine, because I'm gonna enjoy it regardless of your experience. I'm not gonna let it damper mine.
Right. Like what makes it funny to you?
It's not really that it's funny. It's not even that funny to me. It's just like nostalgic, because it's playing off of so many of these tropes and just combining it all into like one thing, which is not an easy thing to pull off because it's like such a cheap thing to do.
Did they pull it off?
I felt like they pulled it off at the time. I mean, like, given the small budget and that it's like a 30-minute YouTube video, like, I think they did a pretty solid job, given it's got like 32 million views. So yeah, I mean, it clearly resonated with some people,
I guess.
It's just like it's this heightened 80s aesthetic that, like, yeah, a lot of people just enjoy. It's like a neo retro kind of vibe that people who lean on the nerdier side feel seeing this. I felt seen.
I don't think it's about being a nerd though, because like everyone enjoys 80s movies. You don't need to be a nerd to enjoy that and to enjoy something that's like...
So they got the fog machines, they got the neon lights, they got the Lamborghinis and like the Countach, and they've got the action and they've got the martial arts. Like, where are you not having fun in this?
Because it was terrible.
I mean, yeah, but that's...
I feel like there's a better way to pay homage and like kind of parody, 80s movies. I feel like I just feel like there's a better way to do it. This felt very like childish, but like in the worst way.
See, like, I think that's a result of the time in which it was made, because it was put onto YouTube. It was a Kickstarter project.
Yeah.
And, so these are not, they are professional to a degree, but these are not like, this isn't like a Hollywood production. This is a, do-it-yourself YouTube production.
Yeah.
So, and that's just kind of, I think when you compare it, like if you go back and you watch like YouTube original movies, like that one with Logan Paul, where if they got bad grades, they would get sent to jail or something.
I've literally never heard of that.
Well, it sounds terrible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you compare it to the pantheon of things that were getting made like originally for YouTube at the time, it stands up pretty well.
I mean, well, I'm not going to crap on YouTube. I was like, the bar is low.
The bar is low, but I mean, now I feel like most of what I see on YouTube now is like video essays and stuff, which I enjoy, but you don't see as much of like narrative content on YouTube anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to like, put down the people who created this or anything. It wasn't for me, which like is fine.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I agree. It probably wasn't for you, but I'm surprised that you can't see in what ways it was made for me.
No, I can see like I can see like a 10-year-old boy like finding that hilarious, but I can't.
Okay, the first time I saw this, I would have been 21 at the time in college, probably enjoying myself a bit, and one of my buddies puts this on one night.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a blast, you know?
I guess.
So I remember, like, I showed this to my brother, like, a year after I saw it the first time. And he was like, that was amazing. Like, yeah. Because, like, we both just resonate with, like, the nostalgia of, like, there's a lot of movies from, like, that time.
Yeah.
Like Ninja Turtles that we grew up on, or Three Ninjas, or like Double Dragon. This reminds me a lot of the Double Dragon movie that they made, which is not a good movie. But like we watched those movies growing up at like, and we would rent them at, you know, Blockbuster and stuff. And things like Kung Fury are very reminiscent of that time of like renting things at your local video store.
Are those movies 80s movies or 90s movies?
Well, I mean, Ninja Turtles was made in like 1990, but like, you know, something like Double Dragon, which was made in the 90s, is based on a game that was like a pixel game made in the 80s. You know, it's all reminiscent of the same vibe, and like that to me is nostalgic because it evokes those memories of like going to the video store and renting things on video, or renting like really old, you know, renting games and stuff. And they intentionally put these like video effects on Kung Fury to make it feel like you're watching like a really beat up VHS tape. And that I think really worked in its favor. And you're looking at me like I just don't get it. And for me, it's like a formative experience.
Well, I'm glad you got something out of it.
All I'm saying is that if any of that sounded mildly fun, go check it out. I don't think it's as bad as you're making it out to be, but I also don't think it's like the greatest thing ever made. But I do think that if somebody like sat down and randomly put it on, who was maybe not you and a bit more me, would enjoy it.
Sure.
All
I
right.
was like ready for it to be over after like the first 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta sit through this now.
Like, what if Corridor Crew had made this or something, you know?
I would equally think the same thing. I just thought.
All right.
Crew has made some things that I'm like, that's really dumb. Like, why?
That's fair.
Why? But I feel like they do it as an experiment to test their visual effects abilities. And so then it makes it a little bit more pleasurable because it's like, oh, they tried something new. Feels more educational.
Well, anyway, you want some facts?
Sure.
All right. So, like I mentioned, this film had a Kickstarter campaign.
So people paid for this to be made?
Yes. They had a.
I'm sorry.
Yes, people paid for this to be made. So David Sandberg, who is the director / star who plays Kung Fury.
Is he related to Andy Samberg?
No. He's actually like Swedish, which I didn't know. He produced a trailer for Kung Fury for $5,000, and he put it on Kickstarter with the intent of raising $200,000 to produce a 30-minute short film and then release it all online for free. But he set an additional goal for $1 million to create a full-length feature film and secure international distribution rights. And the campaign ended with $630,000 pledged by 17,713 backers. So, yeah, it's a lot of people that paid for this thing to get made.
I wonder what they thought once they saw it.
I'm sure they loved it. Like, I 100% believe that the people that saw that $5,000 trailer and saw what the vision was got exactly what they wanted.
That's fair.
So there's this particular part where they're at a police station where you can see on the wall that there are papers with names on them, and those are the names of the Kickstarter backers, which is,
That's
a good thing to do for your Kickstarter backers.
I'll say the one thing that I thought that gave me a little bit of a giggle was there was a cop that was a triceratops, and his name was Triceracop. And I thought that was cute.
Triceracop is probably my favorite character. I love Triceracop, and he
doesn't say any words. He shows up at 1 minute.
When he does talk, he's got a British accent, and that's amazing. I mean, Kung Fury goes back in time because his friend hacks him back into time, and then he finds laser dinosaurs and Thor, and then they send him to Nazi Germany, and then he takes down Hitler, and also they get into a T-Rex fight, which is epically stupid but also epically awesome. But it's it's all about taking down evil.
Yeah.
Anyway, some more facts. One of the film's backers had a white Lamborghini Countach replica. So he basically let the production use it, which it was also used in the music video that they made for Kung Fury called True Survivor by David Hasselhoff, which it's a pretty well-produced music video.
Yeah, I did like the music not the music video, but I like the song.
You like the song? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good music video, and it's got the best parts of Kung Fury kind of stitched into it. Mm-hmm. So if you want a good sense for what this whole thing was, just go watch the David Hasselhoff True Survivor music video, and you'll get a full sense of what this was. And if that seems interesting to you, then go check out the whole thing. It's only 30 minutes.
Yeah, don't invest the 30-minute time until you've seen the music video.
Right, the music video is essentially the trailer, So another fact, they could only afford one police uniform. So there's a scene that takes place in a police station, like I mentioned, and they just shot everybody separately and then stitched them all together into one scene. They're all just wearing the same police uniform.
Yuck.
Right?
Gross. I want to know how, for productions, how they do the budget. Because it's you hear that they got $650,000?
Yeah.
$650,000. And you're like, that's a good amount of money to make a 30-minute YouTube video. And then you're like, oh, they could only afford one police uniform. And it's well, what was the rest of that money going to,
Probably,
which I'm sure it's
the rest of the money probably went to the
stuff.
David Hasselhoff music video.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I'm sure the David Hasselhoff music video was not within the original $200,000 scope, but then they went, well, now we can afford it. So
yeah, but yeah, you just wonder about how budgets get managed.
Well, to budget something like that, you have to have a firm project plan in place. You need to know exactly who you're going to be hiring for exactly what quote. You need to know how many hours they're going to be working and when you're going to need them to be available.
But I feel things like that, especially when you're working on a production, is so unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
And then budget gets out of hand and crazy.
Yeah. But I'm sure they, budgeted in a little extra money, just in case, because you always need to have a buffer when you're doing something on a budget.
Yeah. I think about that interview with Dev Patel talking about Monkey Man and the ways that they kind of cut costs and stuff. And I'm how do you determine what's what to cut costs on?
I'm sure there are things that they're we need to spend money on this.
Yeah.
And then there are other things where it's we could get away with
just piece the table together over and over.
Yeah.
And let it break.
Yeah.
It's what? Crazy.
Some more facts. Most of the characters' voices are intentionally dubbed over, which is just reminiscent of they would do that in movies all the time, especially in the 80s. You watch action films, especially Hong Kong action films. Mm-hmm. even when they're spoken in the native language, they are dubbed over just so that they don't have to have microphones on set. So that was just like a common thing. So they intentionally dubbed people's voiceover for this to pay homage to that, but also some of the actors didn't actually speak English, so they were reciting their lines phonetically. So that just kind of all worked out.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the film was all actually shot digitally at David Sandberg's office in Sweden, and they did some additional photography in Stockholm. So like, I'm sure there were a bunch of like Swedish speakers. Mm-hmm. And there's a part where I thought it was kind of weird when we were watching it, where like when he first goes back in time to Germany and there's like two Nazis having a conversation with each other and they're like bantering, which kind of like never really made sense to me. Apparently they were both Swedish comedians and they were drifting between using poor German and then with a heavy Swedish accent and then switching to just full-blown Swedish. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like their little Swedish in-joke, I guess. Mm-hmm. All right, other facts. Kung Fury has a notably low voice. This was to pay homage to anti-heroes of the 1980s, specifically Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
Snake Plissken.
Very reminiscent of that. Hitler at the end appears in the year 1985. Well, he appears in 1985 at both the beginning and the end of the movie, which is kind of a nod to the Terminator. And
never seen it.
I know you haven't. And Kung Fury wears some Ray-Ban Wayfarers, which is a nod to how popular those sunglasses got in the 1980s, primarily worn by famous talent such as Tom Cruise, Don Johnson, and Bruce Willis, that really brought Ray-Bans back then. And
I feel like Ray-Bans have just like, as a company, had so many ups and downs in terms of like popularity.
I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I look at Ray-Bans and I'm like, yeah, you can't go wrong with Ray-Bans. They feel forever cool to me.
Yeah, but there was like a moment, when was this? Probably, I don't know, I feel like in the 2010s, where Ray-Bans just were like all the rage. Like, I feel like it was like more like, everyone was like, you have Ray-Bans? Like, I want Ray-Bans type of thing. And like, now no one's saying, oh my gosh, you have Ray-Bans? Like, no one's looking that closely. But,
well,
I mean, they're a great brand.
Are there any sunglasses companies that people are excited about right now?
No, but like.
Well, then whatever, you know, you got your Ray-Bans, you got your Eddie Bauer sunglasses, like whatever. Oakley's, I mean, the same company owns like every glasses brand, so.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, in terms of like talking about like it being like a cultural thing, like Ed Hardy, when Ed Hardy was like a crazy thing.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where it's like everyone, you needed to, like right now, like Stanley Cups, how Stanley Cups
are having a moment. Yeah.
Like I feel like Ray-Bans has had a few of those moments.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, now here's a little factoid that you maybe did not expect.
Yeah.
And you might even be disappointed to hear. Kung Fury 2 has been filmed, and it stars Alexandra Shipp, David Hasselhoff, Michael Fassbender, and Arnold Schwarzenegger as the president. Eiza Gonzalez was originally going to be in it, but she dropped out due to scheduling conflicts, so Alexandra Shipp replaced her. It's all been filmed already, and it was supposed to release in 2020, but due to disputes with the financiers, the release has been held back. So they were eyeing, back in 2020, there was an update at some point that said November 29th, 2023 was going to be the release date for Kung Fury 2. And it was like a full-length feature film. It's like a full-length feature film. I don't know if it was going to be released in theaters or if it was going to be on YouTube or what. But basically, then, it was going to be late 2023. But now, what's happening is that it's all stuck in a legal battle. So a financing company promised $10 million in funding but hasn't really provided it, which has effectively shut down post-production. So the producers filed a lawsuit to say that the financing company didn't honor their agreement to, provide the money that they promised, which the financing company basically said is meritless and legally deficient and just an attempt at ruining the financier's reputation. And if the matter doesn't get resolved, they'll countersue the production company. And the financing company said the lawsuit was filed. Yeah, the financing company said that the lawsuit was only filed against them because the financing company exercised its contractual rights to take over the film and complete it in accordance with the agreements between the parties. So all of that was like the official, that last part was part of the official statement that they gave. So basically what all of this means is that this Kung Fury 2 is stuck in a legal hell, and it sounds like the producers are justified to be suing, but the financing company has really good lawyers that's just going to sue back. So it just sounds like the worst experience possible to be having.
And all of this for something that we don't need.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it, so obviously we need it. But notably, one of the writers for Kung Fury 2, his name's Tyler Burton Smith. He did that movie never has seen the light of day, but he did write a movie called Boy Kills World, which did release last weekend. So at least that guy is still able to get work.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, and make his way into Hollywood. I don't know how big his resume was before that, but yeah, so good for that guy's career.
Yeah.
And those are my facts. Sounds like you will never want to watch it ever again.
Absolutely not.
All right. Well,
I'm trying. What was on my worst list of assignments? The worst assignments you've given me. My little list for that.
I don't remember.
It was In Bruges.
Oh yeah, In Bruges.
Something else overtook In Bruges, I think, but I don't remember. Well, this is at the bottom.
This is at the bottom.
Yeah.
And Miami Connection is like your favorite.
Oh, I love Miami Connection.
So I don't know. To me, let's talk about this for a second. To me, what I guess Miami Connection was trying to kind of capture fairly similar thing. Like, it was made in the 80s. It's got kung fu. It's got motorcycle ninjas and cocaine and neon lights and stuff like that, which is and it's all set in Miami, which Kung Fury is also set in Miami, but Miami Connection is not, I guess, doing it on purpose.
No, it's
whereas
just not as
Kung Fury is. Like, what's the difference? Because they're reminiscent of the same aesthetic.
Right. The difference is with Miami Connection, it's like, it's not as absurd. So it's like, obviously it's silly because it's, these guys who are all orphans and they're like fighting a bad guy, right? But that's like a plot that you would, I don't even want to say a plot that you would see, but like, I don't know. It wasn't as absurd as like this, where it's just like crazy violence and like Hitler's thrown in there, and then you have a dinosaur cop. Like, it was just like so much chaotic randomness that and it wasn't humorous. Like, it wasn't funny. Like, Miami Connection was hilarious, and like this one just was not. It was just like vomit on a screen, And I'm like, right. Okay, well, why? Like, I don't want to sit through this.
I mean, part of what makes Miami Connection great is that it is so funny and it's not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Whereas this is trying to be funny.
But it's not, which makes it even worse.
Succeeding at it as well as Miami Connection is.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than something that's trying to be funny and you don't find it funny. Because then it makes it feel so disappointing and so just like, I don't want to be watching this. Versus when you do come across something that's like meant to be serious, like it's taking itself seriously, and you end up finding funniness out of it, like humor out of it.
All right, I get it.
Yeah.
Some theories on what's at the bottom of your list. Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Red Line.
Red Line. What is that?
That was the car anime that I made you watch. The intergalactic space race anime that I made you watch.
That wasn't bad. It was just kind of boring from what I remember.
Okay. Not words I needed to hear. Digimon the movie.
That's not that bad.
Okay.
I would say this movie is my least favorite assignment.
Oh.
Then Star Wars. And then
In Bruges.
In Bruges.
But you still kind of, there's more that you can laugh about with the Star Wars Holiday Special than the other two.
Yeah.
I almost feel like you liked Star Wars Holiday Special more than In Bruges just because of how ridiculous it was.
Well, no.
Not that it's ever something that you should ever want to rewatch.
No, because like I couldn't sit through Star Wars.
That's true.
But I could sit through In Bruges, and I can recognize that In Bruges is like a good quality movie, but I just didn't like the content of it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, that's above the Star Wars special, because it was like, yeah, I laughed at the Star Wars, but like after 20 minutes, I was like, please turn this off. Like I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Well, in all honesty, I did warn you about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. That's it for Kung Fury. We can move on.
Yay! I don't know why I was really dreading that. I just did not want to talk about that. Anyways.
Okay, well, I guess now I got to do a bunch more talking. So I was assigned Nope, which was directed by Jordan Peele, released in 2022.
Good question. I think so. Something like that.
Yeah. So Nope follows a family of black horse wranglers, OJ and Emerald, that have been working in the movies. Their family has been working in the movies for a long time and are the great descendants of the black jockey on a horse. Great. That's right.
He goes,
and
another
they do,
great.
Yeah, another great. Yeah, they do make a point of that. The great descendants of the black jockey on a horse that was considered like the first motion picture ever created. So they raise their horses in this gulch outside of LA, and one day their father is randomly killed by debris falling from the sky. And 6 months later, some weird stuff starts happening, like the power kind of going out randomly, or the horse is getting spooked. So naturally, they think it's aliens. So,
can I just say, like, real quick, there's like horses being spooked is like the scariest thing to me. And when I used to volunteer with like working with horses, like I would be walking them through like a pathway that's like, just like covered in woods, and they would just stop, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, do they sense something that I don't sense? And it used to freak me out so much. Like horses, I feel like they, especially in this movie, they really convey the scariness of it all.
I don't know. I feel like horses are scaredy cats.
I mean, they kind of are. But like at the same time, like they're big animals. So when like a horse is spooked, you're like, should I be spooked?
Right. That's fair. Well, them thinking that it's aliens and there might be a real opportunity here to get a photo of aliens on camera, they go to Fry's and they get cameras set up because they want to get a picture and sell it and make a bunch of money from it. So the camera guy who sets the whole thing up, his name's Angel, he gets really into the idea and he decides to help out. Meanwhile, their neighbor, played by Steven Yeun, who his character used to be a sitcom child star on a TV show with a chimpanzee that tragically ended with the chimpanzee basically tearing a woman's face off in a studio environment. And that guy runs a Western-themed amusement park next to them. So he seems to know a thing or two about these aliens, so he has some people come to like check it out as like a spectacle show thing. But then the flying saucer alien UFO actually ends up abducting all of them and low-key eating all of them. Maybe it's aliens, but the ship seems more like it's a living creature. Bum, bum, bum. So OJ, Emerald, and Angel try to get the aliens on camera, but they keep running into issues, like almost getting killed. So they then get the help of this wildlife cinematographer named Antlers Holst, which is like, what a name. His first name is Antlers.
Antlers. That's a fun name.
They get the help of Antlers Holst, who is said to be able to film the impossible. So he helps them set up a big sting to catch the flying saucer on camera. So they execute their plan. Antlers gets eaten. Angel almost gets eaten. OJ is maybe dead, but then Emerald ends up getting chased into the Western-themed park, which is now abandoned, and she releases a big cowboy balloon into the air, which the flying saucer eats, causing it to, like, evolve into, like, a kite / just generally indescribable object that you got to see to believe. And she cooks up this idea to use the camera that there's like a, at the Western themed park, there is a camera in a well, and it's like this gimmick experience of like you put a coin in and you spin this thing and you look into the well, and the camera in the well takes your picture of you looking down into the well, and it prints out these massive Polaroids. And so she gets the idea to use that, because it's a camera that's basically pointing directly into the sky, to get like a secret picture. And that actually works, and it seems like the balloon also like exploded after the flying after the flying saucer ate it, which maybe killed it or something. And then it turns out that OJ isn't dead. The end.
Nice.
So she got it all. She got the photo.
Yep. The impossible shot.
She got the impossible shot. Yep. And Antlers had to die to get it. Mm-hmm. So my thoughts. I really liked this movie. It was a great movie. I wrote some things at it that I liked. I liked that they Chekhov's gunned the well photograph gimmick. They like show it at the beginning, and it's just kind of this like subtle little detail, and then they bring it back at the end to kind of be like, like that wasn't there on accident. It wasn't like a random thing. It was for this purpose of like getting this photo later in the film. I love it when they do that correctly in things. Mm-hmm. But I will go back, and they call that Chekhov's gun. Like, you know, if there's a gun on the wall in a scene, then the gun has to go off by the end of the movie. It's, you know, it's just one of those things. But I will get back to that kind of writing idea in a second. I would say the film in general is just, it's a very fun concept. It's really easy to get attached to the characters and the whole thing that they got going on. It is kind of like a spooky, scary movie, and you want to know what's going on. And it's just interesting to watch people try to solve their way around this problem using, you know, real life objects, even though it's not a real life scenario that would actually happen. But it's like you can imagine yourself in the scenario, because, you know, they're using the physical means of what we have in real life to, you know, get this thing on camera. So I thought the flying saucer was super scary and designed really well as an explanation for UFO sightings being flying saucers and why nobody can get a picture of them. I thought that was, it was just like a nice little thing. And I liked that the flying saucer was hiding in an immovable cloud the whole time, and that they like noticed it on camera when they look time-lapse the footage. They're like, all the clouds are moving except for this one cloud that is just like static, and that's where the flying saucer is hiding. Mm-hmm. So I really liked all of that. Mm-hmm. Dislikes, I will say. So, okay, the whole chimp eating the lady's face thing was like a very horrifying concept, and it was extremely well shot. That like glues your attention to the screen for that whole sequence, which was like really well done. But why? Like, what purpose did that serve the story?
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. So that was one of my facts. So basically the reason for the whole Gordy's home thing and why that was there is basically to kind of elaborate on Stephen Yeun's character, in the sense that, and it basically ties into the whole theme. So basically, after that experience, Stephen Yeun's character, whose name is Jupe, ends up kind of profiting off of this traumatic experience that he has, and he creates this whole amusement park, which part of that is like a whole kind of memorabilia section of Gordy's home and like what happened and everything like that. But then his whole thing is he has this kind of experience for his guests where they come in and they see a show, and he says, you know, when you leave here, you're going to be a changed person. And he's basically referring to this alien. He's like, you know, the whole point of the show is he'll have a horse. The horse will go out. It'll get like abducted by the alien, and everyone will see it. And so basically the parallel that Gordy's home stuff is making with that is like, you can't tame a beast. Like, so like the whole point is like, you know, when you have like chimpanzee actors, at the end of the day, this is an animal and they're unpredictable and you don't know what's going to happen. And so this thing happens. He's profiting off that now with this thing by basically trying to tame a beast, by trying to tame that alien. And then we see the alien ends up abducting everybody, including him. And so it like kind of goes full circle.
Wow. All right, never mind. This movie has no flaws and it's perfect, and I loved it. It was great. Okay, that's really helpful because I wrote down my guess.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My guess was that it was supposed to be indicative of his character having this like traumatic experience as a child and wanting to emulate this kind of dangerous, irresponsible attraction experience as an adult, like showing people a UFO, which is probably a dangerous thing to be doing. But it's like, I kind of went through this, and he's maybe like projecting that onto other people, and trying to profit from that experience, that feeling. But yeah, the way you put it was a lot better.
I mean, it has other meanings too. So that in the Gordy's home scene, there's a shoe, like one of the woman's shoe is like standing upright, and
I remember that.
From our view, we're like it's really Jupe's view because he's like hiding under a table, and like he kind of focuses in on that shoe, and so like we're focused on that shoe, and it's like it's kind of like an eerie thing of like that shoe standing upright. And when I was like the first time I watched this, and even the second time, I was like, is that some like reference to like the alien? Like, is there something that's like but that didn't make sense to me. I was like, I don't understand that. Like, why is that shoe just, because it's very striking.
Was there an explanation for it?
So basically, and this is what the facts say, and I think they were referring to an interview Jordan Peele did, maybe, but basically it's kind of like this idea of the impossible shot, which comes back later with the alien of like, you know, something chaotic might be going on, but then there's this kind of one thing that we end up focusing on, and that's that impossible shot. And so like that shoe, like the fact that shoe happened to land or like be upright kind of prefaces or foreshadows the impossible shot, the idea of the impossible shot.
Gotcha.
Which still feels a little kind of like, huh? But
it's a small stretch, but I see it. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Yeah, great movie. Hit me with some other facts, because that was everything I had written down.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of. I feel like Jordan Peele always puts in these like little, you know, fun hidden Mickeys everywhere, if you will.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. I don't even want to say Easter eggs, but yes.
But like, wait, maybe not Easter eggs, but just like little
fun things to interpret,
small details for your interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah. But speaking of Easter eggs, so Steven Yeun's character Jupe has a pair of large metal scissors on his desk, which are the same scissors that were in Us, which was his film that came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Scary film. I had like nightmares for a month after watching that. I do not do horror. Also, I feel like a lot of the facts I found interesting were about Jupe, like his character. So when Steven Yeun is like hosting this show where he's about to show everybody, you know, the alien and what the alien's gonna do, he says, in 1 hour you'll leave here having witnessed a spectacle. So when he says that, there's actually 1 hour left in the film. So it relates to like us. In 1 hour, like, we're gonna have left after seeing a spectacle.
It's like what they did in Fargo when Steve Buscemi was on the phone and he's like, "All right, 30 minutes and we'll wrap this up." And it was like exactly 30 minutes when the movie ended.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of well, clearly there's a lot of references. I feel like Jordan Peele pulled a lot of inspiration from a lot of different things. One of them that you pointed out was the Akira slide, like motorcycle slide.
Well, yeah, we all know that.
Right. But the...
he was attached to direct an Akira movie at one point.
Wow. Well, when the alien sucks up all the people and they're kind of like, we're seeing them getting digested, that was also a reference to Akira in the fact that it was mirroring Kaori's death.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh.
I feel
That's
like
good.
I knew you would appreciate
That's
that one.
good.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember Kaori's death, but okay.
She gets
Like I
like
kinda do.
she gets like crushed in Kaneda's or not Kaneda, Tetsuo's ever expanding body of flesh and metal.
Gotcha.
Which is essentially exactly what happens to the people that get eaten by the flying saucer.
Mm-hmm. Got you. So another thing that is important about that Gordy's home scene is that what kind of sets off the chimpanzee is the popping of a balloon. Well, at the end, what kills the alien is the popping of a juke balloon. So...
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
Jordan has a reason
This
for
guy's
everything.
good. That's pretty good.
Don't discredit him.
I do enjoy that.
Apparently, Jordan Peele shared a full intro to the Gordy's Home show on his Twitter. And this was right after the movie's release. And it says it was meant to play parody 80s and 90s sitcom intros. But of course, within that intro, there was like foreshadowing to the events of the movie.
Nice.
And then something interesting, and there was a lot of detail on this, but it's beyond my abilities to like understand production stuff and like film in general. But basically, most of the night sequences were actually shot in the daytime.
I heard about this.
Yeah, it was like this whole rig that was built by a cinematographer named Hoyt van Hoytema.
Antlers Holst? No. Okay.
And they like the fact went like into the nitty gritty of like what exactly that was.
Yeah.
That was like put together. I like was like, this is too much film jargon. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
No, I did hear about that though. That's
interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the nighttime scenes look great. So, I mean, hey, could save some productions a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this was the first horror movie to be on IMAX. In IMAX.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Are you sure?
That's what a fact said. I'm pretty
I
sure.
mean, they didn't do like Saw 3D and IMAX.
I highly doubt it.
I don't know.
That's what the fact said,
All
according to IMDb. Yeah, the first horror film to be filmed with IMAX cameras. Sorry.
Oh,
With IMAX cameras.
No, that very different facts. Very different facts.
My bad.
Yeah, plenty of horror films have been shown on IMAX screens, but maybe not filmed with IMAX cameras. But yeah, that is a very distinct difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Are those all the facts?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God, yeah. Jordan Peele, he's good. He is, do you know about this? He's attached to, he's like co-writing or he's
anime thing.
What?
What was it? You were telling me about it.
He's co-collaborating with Hideo Kojima, the famous video game designer, on a game called OD, which was announced at the Game Awards this past December.
Yeah.
They like brought out Jordan Peele and Hideo Kojima, and they like made the announcement together, and it was very exciting.
Wasn't he like potentially going to do like an Initial D live action, like a new Initial D live action or something? I feel like you told me about some anime show that he was like attached to like create a live action.
Akira, I just said that.
I felt like it was a different one.
No,
maybe not.
I don't think so.
Got you.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I do know that he was at one point attached to live action Akira. I think now he's going to be a producer on that if and when they ever actually make it.
I don't think they should.
I don't think they should either. There's no point. The movie stands on its own, and it's like
It's beautiful.
It's a tent pole of animation. So yeah, I don't think they should. But yeah, OD looks interesting. They showed footage of the actors that they hired, and it's like digital renderings of the actors, and they just look full blown real. So it's pretty wild how far the technology's come. So yeah, and it's supposed to be a horror game. So hell yeah, I'm here for it.
But yeah, I love me some Jordan Peele.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. Remember when we got the release of the poster and everyone was like, "Oh, it's the NOPE is an acronym for like, what was it? It was like
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, what was the acronym that everyone was thinking? It was like not on planet Earth or not of planet Earth or something like that. Like everyone thought it was like. I mean, I don't know if
that's pretty
Jordan
good.
Peele ever confirmed that, but
I think it's just called Nope because you see this and you go nope.
Yeah, I love the scene when Daniel Kaluuya is like there. He's like in the stables where the horses are, and like some weird stuff's going on. The lights are going out or whatever. They come on. He turned them off, or he turned them on. They come off. Whatever. Anyways, he's in there and he's like kind of freaked out. And then there's these like what look like aliens like kind of coming out of the shadows. It ends up being kids in costumes
pulling a prank on him.
But he's like, they're trying to get video footage, but he sees them and he's like, nah, I'm not doing this.
It's like one kid pokes his head out, but then another kid like even closer to him pokes his head out, and he's like, nope.
He's like, but then he also stays there because he's like, oh, I gotta film it.
Yeah.
So I like that part.
Yeah, that was good.
I know. I love Daniel Kaluuya in this movie because he says like very few words, but like just his like
so their father character was played by Keith David, and it sounds like Daniel Kaluuya like really tried to emulate a Keith David sounding voice to make him sound like realistically like that he was his son,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Oh, I was hearing it. I was like, oh, you hear that Keith David and Daniel Kaluuya's voice? That's great.
Oh my gosh.
What an actor.
No,
I was literally thinking like, oh, how talented.
I feel like his voice sounded the same as it does in all his other movies where he plays an American.
There's specific parts where he like yells. He's a very like quiet character, and when he like yells, it's got that in Keith David's specific trademark voice.
Got you. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we get into assignments?
I don't have one, so go ahead and do yours, and I'll pick based on yours.
Okay. Well, remember how I said I knew you hadn't seen The Terminator?
Oh God. Sorry.
You really shouldn't be reacting that way because it's actually a great film. So yeah, I'm giving you The Terminator.
Okay. That was not helpful. Okay. Let me give you something then that I would want to watch since I don't want to watch Terminator. I need something that'll light me up.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Let me look.
Just purely based on what you want to watch.
I know.
Because I would love to watch me some Terminator.
I mean, like, honestly, I don't really want to watch any of this stuff on my list. Okay. I'm going to give you... How do you feel about a show?
I don't feel great about a show.
I knew you'd say that. Okay.
A lot of TV I want to watch. But how long is this show? How good is this show?
It's not a show that you need to necessarily keep up with. It's like it's a comedy.
Will I want to keep watching it after we're done, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like, do you think it would appeal to me in that way?
I think it would appeal to you. But it's not a show that you're going to be like, oh, I need to watch this absolutely right now. Like, it'll be like... It's one of those shows that's like, if I feel like watching it, I watch a few episodes. If I don't feel like watching it, then I just don't watch it,
Okay, I guess we could do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I only have to watch like 4 or 5 episodes.
Well, okay. Here.
How long are the episodes?
I'll give you choices. I think they're like 30 minutes.
Well, yeah. See, I could do that.
Well,
that's essentially the length of a movie.
We could do that show, or because we watch Challengers, I could give you a movie related to that.
Let's just do the show.
Okay, I'm gonna give you Loiter Squad.
Loiter Squad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's why I was like, it's
See, I'd
not
be
a
down
show
for that.
that you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to like
No.
continually watch.
I'm super down for that.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
All right, so then next week, catch the Loiter Squad and Terminator. The Terminator. That'll be good.
I was like, I think it's just Loiter Squad, not the Loiter Squad.
My bad. I misplaced my those.
I think.
What?
I could be wrong.
All right, next week, Loiter Squad and The Terminator.
Yeah, it's just Loiter Squad.
Cool. All right, we'll catch you then. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Content Swap Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all platforms that you see us on, including Instagram and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever. Go like, follow, rate us 5 stars, whatever you can do to help out. We appreciate it. And that's it. See you next time.
Bye.
There it is. Bye.
I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Rough.
That's why it took me a second. I was like, ew.